Guys, this is long overdue. Anyway, welcome to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 308. And honestly, this chapter is fairly good, fairly decent. A lot of talking, which is to be expected, but overall, it's a pretty decent episode. Anyway, chapter starts out with John holding on to the copy of UnOrdinary that William left for him. But before we see much else of that, Blyke comes back to the dorms, and they chat up for a bit. John verifies that they were indeed with Doc, and Blyke reveals that they saw Sarah and Layla too, which Blyke immediately realizes he slipped up on, and John warns him that he shouldn't leak that to anyone else. Possible foreshadowing that Blyke may actually end up being the weak link when the authorities come to interrogate. Maybe. We know that Blyke really can't keep a secret for shit. Anyway, when Blyke heads out to go check up on Ison, John quickly relents on how he misses Sarah. Our boy misses his best friend, and it's really sad. And that's honestly all we see of John this episode. So, Blyke and Remy then go to check up on Ison, who of course is happy to see the both of them. He then drags them into his room, and they talk about their situation as vigilantes. Basically saying, guys, we fucking suck at this. Because someone keeps jumping in. He doesn't specifically say or call out Remy for this, but we do know that it is Remy who always kind of gets them into these situations like this. Remy is the one who's always acting rashly. So, he tells them that they need to start sticking to the plan. They can't keep rushing in. They can't keep getting ambushed like this. They need to start getting evidence. And he also confirms with with them that Kuyo was able to save the footage. So then he also asks Remy if she has the amps still on her, and she tells him that she's left them with Doc. So, yeah. Blyke then asks why he's so fired up about the situation, thinking that Ison was going to, rightfully so, stop getting involved with their vigilantism stuff. And honestly, yeah, I totally would have expected Ison to want to be in that situation as well, but Ison says he was going to, but tells them that Arlo informed him that the authorities already know about all of them and are already on their cases and looking into them, and have been for a while. And especially after what happened with Brims and Fury, they're not going to be able to slide any further. Remy then asks if he's helping them, kind of thinking like, wait, he is helping us? Possibly thinking back to all the times he's tried to talk to her lately. Now, like I've said before, we as the audience knew why Arlo was wanting to talk to Remy. We know what he was trying to tell her. Remy clearly feels bad, or Remy's clearly thinking on this, but like I said, I don't fault Remy for not wanting to talk to Arlo because the two of them did leave off on a bad situation for both of them. Arlo told Remy, leave me out of this. Stop dragging me behind. And Remy told him, leave me alone. I'm doing my thing. So, it's understandable. Hopefully, in the future, though, we will see Remy and Arlo talk things out, and Arlo will explain more of the situation, and Remy can explain more of their situation. So, yeah. Now, Ison does say that he believes for now they should trust Arlo since he's trying to get information that they can use. Basically trying to see if he can push back anything that the authorities are going to try and do to the trio. But in the meantime, they need to plan their next steps in case the authorities do come knocking again. So, we then cut to the Bureau of Authority with Cass and Valerie. And Cassandra tells Valerie that she's getting all the materials, but should be ready in a few weeks. Valerie then asks the dates of the time frame and asks if Cassandra is slacking, to which Cassandra immediately rebukes, simply saying that she's trying to be thorough, but Valerie tells her that she can't just be thorough, she also needs to be fast. Now, when Cass leaves, she does ask why they would think that when she's working multiple cases and also running her own team. To Cassandra's credit, as dumb as it is, she is working hard. She is trying to, put all the pieces together. But the thing is, I thought she already had the final missing piece. I thought she had everything to it. Back in episode 297, Back in episode 297, she even says, I finally found the missing piece. Now, granted, this could have just been a piece that she needed to look even further into his case, but I thought this was kind of like the main thing that she needed. I don't know, kind of weird to me, honestly, but nonetheless, I get it. Yeah. Now, I did also say in the reaction, I think this was very much the smallest seed that was planted of doubt. That like I think this was the first seed of Cassandra to be like, they think like they're having me do all this and they think I'm slacking, like they think I'm not working hard. Are you kidding me? The smallest seed of doubt has been planted, and I think that Cassandra is going to start siding with everyone else soon, or maybe she will be helping out Arlo. We're gonna have to wait and see. After that, we then cut to Arlo at work, and he's hearing some coworkers talking about Spectre, realizing he's the only one who knows anything about them truly. Someone even mentions offhandedly that any information could probably land a nice bonus. We then see Cassandra come to him briefly and ask, basically saying like, I didn't think this confrontation was kind of weird. Arlo's literally just looking in their direction, not saying anything. He's literally just listening in on the conversation, and she just like I didn't think you gave into gossip. It's like he's just looking at them, like he's not talking to them. It's kind of weird in my opinion, but anyway, she tells him that it's not their department to not let it distract him. He then senses that she's kind of in a bad mood. He notices that something's off with her, and he asks if he's okay. She just lets him know that the higher ups are getting on her case about about everything going on, and he offers to help out. After finishing up some work, they chat for a bit, but Arlo also manages to get a bit more information from working with her. Mainly that, thanks to Vaughn's interference with everything, he's managed to buy the trio, Remy, Blake, and Ison, a bit more time before the authorities step in and come after them again. So, yeah, Arlo definitely was trying to help out Cass, but thanks to that, he was like, okay, they have a bit more time. Okay, cool. So, yeah, he then wonders why Cass is so set on taking Vaughn down, what her obsession with this is. He even asks her about the junior she mentioned before who was murdered. When she mentions that it was none other than Ray, Arlo immediately reacts. This part, again, I feel was kind of weird, because Cass shouldn't have known that Ray and Arlo knew each other, but I feel like she should have been able to guess that they might have before this episode, because as we saw in his side story, as they were first year students, Cassandra met up with Ray and Kuyo. She met the two of them within their first week. We don't really know time frames. So I feel like if Cassandra knew that Arlo was king at Wellston, like it's on his resume, that's a thing, she should have thought, Arlo probably met Ray in there. Ray probably took Arlo under his wing then. That's just me, honestly. I feel like she definitely should have thought before this that they might have known each other, that since Arlo was the next king after Ray. Anyway, she mentions it was a surprise that he got so strong, saying that she was betting it all on Kuyo, and we even see Arlo's point of view on Kuyo, what he thought of Kuyo. And honestly, it's a bit weird. Like, it's not weird because clearly Arlo... No. It's weird. I'm saying it now. It's weird. Kuyo, from Arlo's perspective, was someone who was always picking on Arlo because he was the king, and Arlo was clearly weaker than him. We see Kuyo run up to Arlo and just smack him on the back of the head, calling him little Aslo. And I actually am wondering, is that where Remy picked up the name Aslo from? Because we do know Kuyo and Remy knew each other. Kuyo was obviously very cool with Ray's family. So, is Kuyo where Remy picked up Aslo from? That'd actually be really funny, actually. But I say it's weird because, again, we know who Arlo was. Arlo wasn't like Zeke, and younger Kuyo seems to be a bit more like Zeke, but Arlo was a hell of a lot worse than Zeke. So, yeah, it's kind of weird that Arlo's just like, man, what a fucking asshole. It's like, bro, you were an even worse asshole. But anyway, Cassandra then mentions that she always had to stop Kuyo and Ray's fighting in their first year, which kind of reminds me a bit of Blank and Ison as first years when Arlo had to step in with them, and they started arguing simply because one of them looked weird at the other ones, if I'm remembering correctly. But she also mentions Ray being a go-getter and being annoyingly persistent, and you couldn't help but smile around him. To which Arlo smiles in agreeance, because Arlo has shared that same sentiment before with John, that Kuyo was a bit annoying, but he had a way with people. Arlo then asks the question that, of course, we have been asking ourselves, that if Cass, as to why Cass blames Vaughn when her target should be Ember for this. He even brings up, as I've said before, if, and it's a very big if, Vaughn really had some influence over Ray, he most likely would have still become a vigilante if someone else were leading Wellston, because that's just the kind of person Ray was. As Arlo says, Ray was the kind of person to stick his nose in other people's business. And yeah, it's a fair point. Cass agrees, but she says that their department, anti-corruption, doesn't work on the Ember case. It's up to anti-terrorism, and a promotion to that department would be needed to access any information. But she also mentions that Vaughn isn't completely faultless either in the situation, but leaves to get back to work before clarifying what she meant by that. And Arlo retorts saying that Ember wouldn't be off limits if everyone knew it was a government branch. Now, it is really weird because Cassandra does make a good point. Ember, again, we as the audience know, Ember absolutely should fall under anti-corruption. But since it is being treated to the public as a terrorist organization like Spectre, it makes sense that any information in regards to them would be handled by that department. By the anti-terrorism department. Now, interestingly enough, a few things were brought up in this episode, which have been brought up in the last few episodes as well. Mainly, that promotion that would be needed to access any information on Ember or stuff like that. And I am wondering, someone mentioned, a grayed out in the episode earlier mentioned, that any information involving Spectre could possibly lead to a very nice bonus. So I am wondering, is Arlo going to play the risky, albeit, I will be honest, it could be smart if it does work out, smart play of giving a bit of information about Spectre in order to be able to get a promotion to be able to access information on Ember. Honestly, anti-terrorism could have no information on Spectre on Ember at all, since, you know, it's part of the government branch, so who knows. And also, actually, hold up. If they're against the government, vigilantes could fall under terrorism. So Ember could actually probably be a spin-off and a program of anti-terrorism, now that I think about it. Let's see. But we're going to have to wait and see, obviously. So, yeah, is Arlo going to risk it for a promotion? Honestly, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It could play out in everyone's favor, but it could also set stuff like Sarah, Layla, and Doc back. So who knows? Now, you're probably asking yourself, though, Jay, you skipped over something in this episode. And if you didn't think that, let me ask you this. Do you think I skipped over something in this episode? Because I did. Now, it's very obvious and well known that I do not like a certain character, and I loathe when she's on screen. There was a bit with Elaine in this episode. And I just think it's so funny and so strange that Uru can put Elaine in 2 episodes and essentially have her waste time. So there's quickly a brief scene where Elaine is doing none other than what she said she wanted to, hanging out with her friends. And that's great. Elaine, you're hanging out with your friends. You get to be a normal student. Congratulations. Good for you, honestly. So she's hanging out with her friends, but she gets a text from Arlo saying that he wants to talk with her. But she says, I'm busy right now. Again, great for you, Elaine. Great for you. You stood up to someone who treats you like crap and who's basically said, I don't have time for you. And you said yourself, I don't have time for you. Elaine, that's great. Good job. I'm very happy for you, Elaine. It's just so weird that, again, Elaine can take away time in an episode that ultimately just leads to nothing. Arlo doesn't dwell on this when he's at work. It immediately just comes and goes, and nothing comes of it in this episode. Granted, and some of you might point this out, Uru could very well be just building up these small little things to bring up later in an episode. And you're absolutely right. That could probably happen. It's just strange that it's like this twice. It just leads to nothing. And after she healed Ison, and they're focusing on Ison, who was on the brink of death, and she just wants to be like, I want to make this about me right now. And in this episode, her screen time just goes nowhere. Now, like I said, Uru could be building up something. Arlo could confront her and be like, hey, I'm sorry for how I treated you. That wasn't right. But that should just be it. Honestly. Like I've been saying for years. Remy's basically Elaine's only friend of this group. Call me an Elaine hater all you want. I wear that crown with the biggest smile. Elaine's not important. She's not. She doesn't need to be here. Like, let Elaine go in peace. If Arlo wants to apologize for treating her badly, because he has, Arlo has mistreated Elaine this whole time, then that's fine. Let him apologize and let Elaine move on with her life. Because as much as I don't like Elaine, what I have said countless times is that Elaine does deserve friends who... Elaine, for as shitty as a person she is, she does deserve friends that would treat her as a person, even if she wouldn't do the same for others. Guys, Elaine's not some girl who's totally flawless, who deserves the world. She's not. She's just as awful as every other person in the story. If people who were weaker than her didn't matter. She thought herself so high when she wasn't. She's irrelevant. She deserves friends. She deserves people who have her back, even if she doesn't have... Even, like I said, when push comes to shoves, she does not have the royals back. Uru, if you really want Arlo to apologize to Elaine, fine. Let that be the end of it. Just let that die out. Elaine really isn't bringing anything to the table. Especially when the best healer in the series doesn't even have a healing ability. You can have Arlo apologize to Elaine. But Elaine really doesn't bring anything to the table. Elaine's not willing to die for the others like everyone else is for each other. And that's fine. Elaine doesn't have to be that. But she shouldn't. But if she's not going to be that, she shouldn't be involved with the crew. She shouldn't be here. We are probably going to see a conversation between her and Arlo soon. Could be good. I'm betting that it won't be. But I will say, just like Arlo should have just like Arlo needed to apologize to John. I will also say Arlo should apologize to Elaine. And that could be the end of that. Because Elaine, you're right. You do deserve to be treated better. I would also say you've probably had this coming, considering how you treat lower tiers. But yeah, you don't deserve to be treated the way Arlo treats you. Focus on your friends. Focus on your school. And you're good, Elaine. That's all you need. You don't want to be involved with this shit. You don't want to risk your life. It's totally fine. Don't cry. But don't cry and don't play the victim when you weren't wanting to be involved in this anyway. And then you wonder why people aren't including you. Overall, level 7 episode. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And as always, everyone, see you, Space Cowboy.